Get lost, 5 armed men said to the orc girl, not knowing she was a legendary blade master. For several seconds, the crossroads became completely silent. Tomas stared at his revolver lying in the dust. He could not understand what had happened. One moment his hand had been reaching toward Vera's sword. The next, his weapon was gone, and the orc girl stood several feet away with her hand resting calmly on the old sheath. The 4 other Apache warriors looked at one another. None of them laughed now. Vera slowly raised both hands. "I don't want to fight you," she said. Tomas bent down and picked up his revolver. His pride had been wounded more deeply than his body. "You embarrassed me. I warned you. You think you're better than us?" Vera shook her head. "No. I think you should let me leave." One of the warriors, Rafe, stepped forward. "She won't get away." Vera looked at him. "Why?" Rafe pointed toward the northern trail. "No one travels through Black Ridge without permission." "I didn't know." "You know now." Vera sighed. "I have somewhere I need to be." Tomas raised his revolver. "Then you'll have to go through us." Vera's eyes hardened. "Don't do this." Tomas fired. The gunshot exploded across the valley. Vera moved before the sound had finished echoing. She stepped sideways, and the bullet struck the wooden sign behind her. The warriors froze. Tomas fired again. Vera ducked. A third shot followed. She spun behind an old stone marker, using it as cover. "Stop," she shouted. But Tomas was no longer listening. His anger had taken control. The other warriors joined him. Bullets tore through the dusty air. Vera remained strangely calm. She waited. Then she moved. She burst from behind the stone and ran directly toward them. Rafe reached for his knife. Vera caught his wrist. With one smooth motion, she twisted his arm and sent the knife spinning into the dirt. Another warrior swung his rifle toward her. She stepped inside its range, struck his wrist, and knocked the weapon away. The third tried to tackle her. Vera sidestepped him and used his momentum to throw him into the dust. Within seconds, 3 men were disarmed. Only Tomas and one other warrior remained standing. Tomas stared at Vera in disbelief. "You're not normal." Vera gave him a tired look. "Neither are you." The final warrior charged. Vera drew her sword. For the first time, the men saw the blade clearly. It was silver-gray, narrow, and covered with tiny markings that seemed almost ancient. The warrior swung his knife. Vera blocked it. Steel rang against steel. He attacked again. She parried. Again. She stepped aside. Then, with one precise movement, she knocked the knife from his hand and placed the tip of her sword against his chest. She could have ended the fight. Instead, she lowered the blade. "Go." The warrior stared at her. "Why?" "Because I don't want your death on my conscience." Tomas slowly lowered his revolver. His anger had disappeared. Something else had replaced it. Fear. But beneath the fear was curiosity. "Who taught you to fight like that?" he asked. Vera sheathed her sword. "No one." Tomas frowned. "That isn't possible." Vera looked toward the distant mountains. "I learned because I had to." Then she began walking north. The 5 warriors remained behind, watching her disappear into the evening dust. None of them knew that their encounter was only the beginning. And none of them knew that something far more dangerous was already following Vera toward Black Ridge. Vera had walked nearly half a mile before she heard footsteps behind her. She stopped. The 5 Apache warriors were approaching, but this time their weapons were lowered. Tomas was in front. Vera rested one hand near her sword. "I told you to let me pass." "We're not here to fight," Tomas replied. Vera studied his face. You already tried that. Tomas looked embarrassed. I was wrong. The word seemed difficult for him to say. Vera continued walking, but Tomas followed. You said you learned to fight because you had to, he said. What does that mean? Vera remained silent. The northern mountains were turning purple beneath the setting sun. Finally, she stopped. My village was destroyed when I was 17. The 5 men became quiet. Raiders came during winter, she continued. They wanted food, horses, and gold. We had almost nothing. They burned the houses anyway. Tomas lowered his eyes. My family was killed. Vera shook her head. My family disappeared. I never found their bodies. She touched the old sword on her back. I found this afterward. Rafe looked at the weapon. That's not an ordinary sword. No. Where did it come from? Vera looked toward the mountains. From a man named Edrin Vale. Tomas suddenly froze. The name meant something to him. Edrin Vale. Vera nodded. The Silver Master. The other warriors exchanged shocked looks. Edrin Vale had been a legendary swordsman whose name had become part of frontier folklore. Some said he could cut a rifle barrel in half. Others claimed he had defeated 12 armed men without killing a single one. He found me wandering alone, Vera said. Instead of leaving me to die, he trained me. For how long? Tomas asked. 7 years. The men stared at her. Vera's expression remained calm. Edrin taught me that a sword isn't meant to prove you're stronger than everyone else. It is meant to protect people who cannot protect themselves. Rafe swallowed. And you became his student? His last student. The wind swept across the crossroads. Tomas looked at her sword again. Then the stories are true. Vera didn't answer. What stories? One of the younger warriors asked. Tomas looked at him. The Silver Blade. Vera's eyes hardened. I don't use that name anymore. But Tomas remembered the stories. Years ago, an unknown warrior had appeared wherever villages were attacked. She defeated bandits, corrupt soldiers, and ruthless mercenaries. She never robbed anyone. She never accepted rewards. And she rarely killed. People called her the Silver Blade because of the strange sword she carried. Then, one day, she vanished. Tomas looked at Vera. You're her. I was. Suddenly, a distant gunshot cracked through the mountains. Vera's face changed. She immediately turned toward the sound. Tomas noticed. What is it? They found me. Who? Vera looked at the 5 warriors. Men who have been hunting me for 3 years. Another gunshot echoed. Then another. Tomas reached for his rifle. How many? Vera listened carefully. Too many. The warriors exchanged glances. Tomas looked toward the northern trail. Why are they hunting you? Vera hesitated. Because I possess something they want. Gold? No. Then what? Vera slowly drew her sword. A secret. Before Tomas could ask anything else, a dark figure appeared on the ridge. Then another. And another. Dozens of armed riders were moving through the valley. Tomas stared at them. They're coming straight here. Vera tightened her grip on the silver blade. They aren't here for you. Tomas raised his rifle. Maybe not. He looked at the 4 men beside him. But they're going to have to get through us first. For the first time, Vera looked genuinely surprised. The 5 warriors had been strangers only minutes earlier. Now they were standing beside her. And the real battle was about to begin. The first rifle shot cracked across Black Ridge. Tomas immediately raised his weapon. Take cover. The 5 Apache warriors scattered behind rocks and fallen trees as bullets tore through the dusty road. Vera remained in the open for one brief second, watching the approaching riders. There were at least 30 mercenaries. Their horses thundered down the slope, kicking clouds of dust into the evening air. Tomas looked toward Vera. "You said there were too many." "I was being polite." Despite the danger, Tomas almost smiled. "Glad to hear it." A bullet struck the rock beside his head. The smile disappeared. "Everyone ready?" The 5 warriors fired together. Several mercenaries fell from their horses, while the others scattered for cover. Vera drew her silver blade. She didn't charge immediately. She watched. She studied the enemy's movements, counting riders and identifying their leader. Tomas noticed. "What are you waiting for?" "Their commander. You can recognize him. He's the reason they're here." A tall man wearing a black coat rode into view. He carried a long saber and had a scar running from his left eye to his jaw. Vera's expression became cold. "That's him." Tomas glanced at her. "Who?" "Calder Voss." The name meant nothing to him. But Vera knew it well. Calder had once been one of the greatest students of Idrun Vale. He had learned the same sword techniques Vera had. Then he had betrayed their master. "He wants the sword," Vera said. Calder raised his hand. The mercenaries stopped firing. His voice carried across the valley. "Vera." She stepped forward. "You're still running." "I stopped running 3 years ago." Calder laughed. "You've been hiding." "I've been protecting people from you." Calder's eyes narrowed. "Give me the sword, and this ends." Vera shook her head. "No. Then everyone here dies." Tomas stepped beside her. "You're going to have to try." Calder looked at him. "And who are you?" "Tomas." Calder smiled. "You're standing beside a monster." Tomas glanced at Vera. "No." He looked back at Calder. "I'm standing beside someone who just saved my life." Vera said nothing. The mercenaries attacked. Tomas and his 4 companions opened fire while Vera rushed forward. She moved like lightning. A mercenary swung a saber. She blocked it. Another attacked from behind. She ducked. Her blade flashed upward, knocking the weapon from his hand. She never wasted a movement. The 5 warriors fought around her, covering every direction. Rafe shot an enemy who was aiming at Vera. Vera turned. "Thank you." Rafe grinned. "Don't mention it." Another mercenary charged Tomas. Vera intercepted him. "Behind you." Tomas turned and fired. The man fell. For the first time, the 6 fighters moved like a single unit. They weren't strangers anymore. They were becoming allies. But Calder wasn't finished. He suddenly charged directly toward Vera. Their swords collided. Clang! Vera stepped backward. Calder attacked again. She blocked. Again. Again. Their blades moved so quickly that the watching warriors could barely follow them. "You've gotten slower," Calder whispered. Vera's eyes narrowed. "You've gotten crueler." Calder swung with tremendous force. Vera caught the strike and pushed him back. But before she could counterattack, a hidden mercenary aimed his rifle at Tomas. Vera saw him. She broke away from Calder and threw her sword. The silver blade spun through the air and struck the rifle from the man's hands. Tomas stared. "You just threw your sword." Vera ran past him. "I knew where it would land." She caught the weapon as it returned. Tomas shook his head. "Remind me never to argue with you." The battle continued until darkness covered the valley. Finally, the mercenaries retreated. Calder escaped with them, but not before shouting. "This isn't over, Silver Blade." Vera watched him disappear. "No," she whispered. "It isn't." Tomas lowered his rifle. "You saved me." Vera looked at him. "You protected me first." Tomas nodded. "Then I suppose we're even." But neither of them realized that Calder had left behind a final warning. Tomorrow, he would return with an army. And this time, he intended to capture Vera alive. Morning came beneath a gray sky. The valley that had been filled with gunfire the previous evening was strangely quiet. Broken rifles, abandoned horses, and footprints covered the dusty ground. Tomas stood on a ridge, watching the northern trail. "We should leave," Rafe said. "We've got wounded men and almost no ammunition." Tomas shook his head. "If we leave, Calder follows us to the settlement. And if we stay?" Tomas looked toward Vera. "She'll be fighting alone." Vera was standing several yards away, sharpening her silver blade. "You won't be fighting alone," Tomas said. She looked up. "You don't owe me anything." Tomas smiled. "Maybe not. But we're here anyway." Before Vera could answer, a deep horn echoed from the valley. Everyone turned. Dust rose beyond the ridge. Hundreds of riders appeared through the haze. Calder Voss had returned. This time, he had brought an army. Tomas slowly raised his rifle. "That's more than 30. Vera stood. "Nearly 200. Rafe stared at her. "How do you know?" "I counted the horses." Tomas looked at her sword. "Can you defeat that many?" Vera shook her head. "No." The warriors exchanged worried looks. Then she continued. "But I don't have to." A black horse rode to the front of the army. Calder sat upon it. He removed his gloves and looked toward Vera. "You have until sunset," he shouted. "Give me the sword, and these men live." Vera stepped forward. "You came all this way for a piece of steel." Calder laughed. "You still don't understand." He pointed toward the sword. "That blade contains the location of Idrin's hidden fortress." Tomas looked at Vera. "A fortress?" Vera's expression remained unreadable. "It's more than a fortress." Calder shouted again. "Come down, Silver Blade." Vera looked at Tomas. "I'll end this." Tomas immediately shook his head. "Not alone. If all of you fight, people will die. We're already involved." Vera looked at each of them. Then she finally nodded. "I'll challenge Calder." Tomas frowned. "To a duel?" "Yes." Calder accepted the challenge. The army moved aside, forming a wide circle on the ridge. Vera stepped into the center. Calder dismounted. He drew his saber. "You remember what Master Idrin taught us?" Vera raised her sword. "Every lesson." Calder smiled. "Then you remember his greatest mistake." "What mistake?" "Training you instead of me." The duel began. Calder attacked first. His saber cut through the air with incredible speed. Vera blocked. Steel rang across the ridge. He attacked again. She stepped aside. Again. She parried. Calder changed his stance and struck low. Vera jumped over the blade. The warriors watching could barely breathe. Neither fighter seemed willing to give ground. Then Calder finally wounded Vera's shoulder. A thin line of blood appeared. Tomas stepped forward. "Vera." She raised one hand. "Stay back." Calder smiled. "You're losing." Vera looked at the blood on her sleeve. Then she smiled. "No." She raised her sword. "I was remembering." "Remembering what?" "Why I became the Silver Blade." She attacked. Her movements changed completely. Calder's confidence disappeared. Vera struck his saber aside, spun behind him, and knocked his weapon from his hand. The saber landed in the dirt. Vera placed her blade against his throat. Silence covered Black Ridge. Calder stared at her. "Kill me." Vera shook her head. "No. You're afraid." "No." She lowered the sword. "I simply refuse to become you." Calder suddenly reached for a hidden pistol. Tomas fired first. The weapon flew from Calder's hand. He fell to his knees. The army behind him slowly lowered their weapons. Their commander had been defeated. Vera looked toward the soldiers. "Leave." No one moved. Then one rider lowered his rifle. Another followed. Soon the entire army began retreating. Calder remained kneeling in the dust. Vera turned away. Tomas approached her. "You could have killed him." "I know. Why didn't you?" Vera looked toward the rising sun. "Because winning isn't about how many people you can destroy." She sheathed the legendary blade. "It's about how many people you can save." For the first time, Tomas understood why the frontier had once called her the Silver Blade. Not because she was the deadliest warrior, but because she had the strength to choose mercy when revenge would have been easier. The sun was setting over Black Ridge when the last of Calder Voss's riders disappeared beyond the mountains. For the first time in days, Vera could hear nothing but the wind. The battle was over. The mercenaries were gone. Calder had been captured. And the 5 warriors who had once ordered Vera to get lost now stood quietly beside her. Tomas looked toward the northern trail. "You're still going?" Vera nodded. "I have somewhere I need to be." "Where?" "The mountains." Tomas frowned. "What's waiting for you there?" Vera looked at the silver sword hanging from her belt. An answer. Nobody asked what she meant. They had learned that Vera shared her secrets only when she was ready. She gathered her belongings and prepared her horse. Rafe watched her. "You know, you could stay." Vera smiled faintly. "I don't belong here." Tomas stepped closer. "You said that yesterday. And you were wrong yesterday too." Vera looked at him. Tomas removed his hat and held it against his chest. "When you first came to this crossroads, we treated you like an enemy." Vera remained silent. "I told you to get lost." "You did." "I was arrogant." "You were." The other 4 warriors chuckled. Tomas sighed. "I'm trying to apologize." Vera finally smiled. "Then apologize." Tomas nodded. "I am sorry." Vera studied him for several seconds. "Accepted." Tomas looked relieved. Then he pointed toward the settlement. "You can stay there." Vera shook her head. "I don't need charity." "It isn't charity." "What is it?" "A home." Those words stopped her. For years, Vera had survived by moving from place to place. She had slept beneath trees. She had eaten whatever food she could find. She had learned never to trust promises. A home was something she had stopped believing existed for her. Tomas continued. "We have empty rooms. More food than we need. Horses that need tending. Children who could use someone who knows how to protect them." Vera looked away. "I don't know how to live peacefully." Rafe laughed. "Neither do we." The others joined him. Vera looked at the 5 men. They were bruised, exhausted, and completely ridiculous. But they were also the first people in years who had stood beside her without asking what they could gain. Tomas extended his hand. "Stay." Vera stared at it. Then she looked toward the mountains. For years, she had believed her purpose was to keep moving. To find the truth about her lost family. To protect people. To defeat those who hunted her. But perhaps she had forgotten something. Perhaps a warrior needed somewhere to put down her sword. Vera slowly took Tomas's hand. I'll stay. The 5 warriors smiled. Tomas shook her hand. Welcome home, Silver Blade. Vera raised an eyebrow. I thought I told you I don't use that name. Tomas grinned. Fine. He turned toward the others. Everyone, meet Vera. One of the warriors laughed. Just Vera? She nodded. Just Vera. That evening, they returned to the settlement. Children ran through the streets. People came out of their homes to see the strangers who had defended them. Nobody looked at Vera with fear. They looked at her with gratitude. A little girl approached her and stared at the sword. Are you really the Silver Blade? Vera smiled. Who told you that? My father. Vera glanced at Tomas. He immediately pretended not to hear. The girl smiled. Will you teach me how to use a sword? Vera knelt beside her. Only if you promise never to use it to hurt someone weaker than you. The girl nodded seriously. I promise. Vera smiled. Then tomorrow, we begin. That night, Vera sat outside her new home beneath a sky full of stars. Her sword rested beside her. For the first time, she didn't feel the need to keep one hand on it. Tomas stepped outside. Can't sleep. Not used to having a home. He sat beside her. You'll get used to it. Vera looked toward the mountains. Maybe. Tomas smiled. Tomorrow morning, you'll regret saying yes. Why? You're helping repair the barn. Vera laughed softly. That's the first battle I might actually lose. Tomas laughed. The sound carried through the quiet settlement. And beneath the stars, the legendary Blade Master finally understood something she had spent years searching for. Home was never a place. It was the people who chose to stand beside you, and asked you to stay.